Human rights and other civil society organizations protested on Saturday against the ongoing conflict in Gaza. The protest comes as South Africa and Israel concluded their arguments at the International Court of Justice. South Africa wants the court to end the hostilities in Gaza immediately. The legal team touched down at the airport this morning. Joining us is Joe Bluen, SA Jews for a Free Palestine. Joe, appreciate your time. Now, let's start off with you sharing the motivations behind the South African Jews for a Free Palestine's activism and how the organisation engages with the South African Jewish community on these issues.
Hi, Hugo. Good afternoon to you and to your viewers at home, and thanks for having us on the show. So South African Jews for a Free Palestine has been operating for several decades and works towards a just and free Palestine. We have, and specifically in this context, we've been engaging really in a dramatic fashion to work both within the Jewish community in terms of having the very difficult conversations around unlearning and unthinking the indoctrination of Zionism, but also works with comrades and colleagues from across civil society, with the South African BDS Coalition, to really recognize that what is being done and supposedly being done in our names is rather part of a settler colonial, fascist, racist, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic project. And so we've been working solidly with many across the country and the globe to really provide and offer our absolute solidarity with the people of Palestine and Palestinians.
Now, Joe, you speak to the work that you've been doing over the last, I think, 3 decades, you indicated. Now, whatever work you've been doing has obviously gone incredibly difficult in a very short space of time. And that's because, obviously, of the atrocities that have happened over the last few months. I think just yesterday we were reporting on an individual who works, a media individual who works for one of the news channels, speaking to the number of people in the media, I think close to 70 that have been killed. And in this report, this individual who's Palestinian, if I'm correct, has lost his son, he's lost his wife, he's lost his daughter, all in the attacks that occurred in the last few months. How do you mend these relations? I mean, it's very fresh for both parties, so it cannot be an easy process.
I mean, I think that's really up to, I don't think South African Jews for a Free Palestine is in a position to speak about what kind of visions of the future Palestinians demand. We are here in solidarity and to support. I think one of the things that is really quite central to our ethos is that we recognize that various forms of oppression are deeply interconnected. And so fascism, colonialism, racism, transphobia, Islamophobia, anti-Palestinian racism, anti-blackness, and anti-Semitism too are connected by Zionism. So when we are saying we recognize, for example, that Israel and South Africa are connected apartheids, we are saying we must oppose apartheid and global apartheid wherever we see it. And I think one of the very important distinctions to make is between Zionism and Judaism. As I'm sure many of your viewers will know, Zionism is firstly very often, we see with these right-wing racist fascists in the United States, Christian Zionists who are on the one hand deeply pro-Israel, but deeply anti-Semitic. So I think it's really important to draw this distinction and recognize that Zionism within Jewish thought is a very new phenomenon, really recent. Jews have been a diasporic people for millennia. The idea of a Jewish nation state is a very new idea. And certainly while there have been biblical references to the idea of a Jewish homeland, it's very often been seen as more of a kind of theological utopia, a kind of an idea rather than a geographic place to live, and certainly not a geographic place to live in such a way that it leads to the extermination, displacement, ethnic cleansing, and genocide of Palestinians in what we see as South African Jews for a Free Palestine, as the ongoing Nakba, the ethnic cleansing of 1947 and 1948, that marked the establishment of the State of Israel.
So let's talk for a moment. How does SAGs for a Free Palestine engage with South African government on matters related to the Israel-Palestine conflict, including the recent ICJ case?
We are an activist organization, so we don't have direct links with the government, but we are very, very supportive. I don't know if you are perhaps referring to our press release that we put out quite recently in expressing our support.
Okay, we seem to have lost that connection. Joe, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me? Sorry.
I can hear you now. I'm going to have to ask you to repeat your answer, please. We lost you there for a moment.
Okay, no, I'm not sure where I got to, but we have no formal relationship with the South African government, but we are deeply, deeply supportive and admiring and in awe of the meticulous legal case presented at the ICJ invoking the Genocide Convention. And we stand in absolute solidarity with those who are fighting on the side of justice against genocide. And we also very, very vehemently refuse the weaponization of the memory of our ancestors who passed in.
Okay, we seem to be struggling with Joe Bluen. We'll leave that conversation there, speaking on behalf of SA Jews for a Free Palestine. Joe, I understand that you are back. Maybe you can touch base with us on there was a march or a demonstration of sorts at the U.S. Embassy yesterday, from what I understand. Can you just give us some insights into what transpired and whether this was a success?
It was such an electric day. There was a huge crowd outside the U.S. consulate recognizing that the United States is, I think just to kind of contextualize one of the things, on the day that South Africa submitted its application to the International Court of Justice, the United States released authorization for the release of a huge weapons cache towards the funding and arming of the genocide. So we know that the United States is not only funding and arming the genocide in Palestine, but genocides across Africa, wars across Africa, across the world. This is how empires behave. And yesterday was electric. I don't know what else to say. If people were there from all walks of life, coming out to show their solidarity with the people of Palestine, to show their disgust and disdain for the settler colonial fascist entity of Israel, and also to show their absolute refusal of U.S. imperialism and the absolute impingement on human life that it entails.
Now, you've talked to us about the history of this apartheid, which you call, which dates back to the 1940s. Now, in light of the organization's call for unity against apartheid and the war in Gaza, how does SA Jews for a Free Palestine foster dialogue and understanding between different communities in South Africa, particularly those that are not familiar with the history?
So we work with a broad, that's a great question, thank you. We work with a broad coalition of different actors across the country. And so we are part of the SABDS coalition. We work with many, many different folks. We have, one of the things we do quite regularly, almost every Friday in Cape Town and every second Friday in Johannesburg, is what we call Shabbos against genocide in Palestine. Shabbos is our Sabbath, and we have a beautiful prayer book that was compiled by some of our comrades who are well versed in Jewish liturgy and Jewish religious philosophy, that really brings together prayers honoring those who have passed, honoring those who are fighting, who are living. And we have had many, and at those events we have collaborated with many different actors. We've had our last Shabbos in Cape Town and the Tennyson Street Mosque. We work with different people. Everyone is invited to come and join us. It's open to people of all faiths, of no faith, and it's a really special way to bring together those Jews who wish to live their Jewish faith in a way that is not connected to genocidal fascism, and also those from other faiths and all over the country that wish to join.